Congresswoman Karen Bass said this, that Angelenos will remember the rapper as a protector, inspiration, father, brother, and unabashed son of L.A. Quite a statement. So we wanted to see if we could talk to the Congresswoman now, who we understand has taken time to join us on the phone. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Glad to be here.
The title there, Ms. Bass, Son of L.A., what does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, I think that, he made such an incredible contribution to our community. A neighborhood that is often maligned, marginalized, and he could have moved anywhere. He could have moved to Beverly Hills, Malibu. He stayed in the neighborhood. He used his wealth to contribute to the neighborhood, and I think that he is an example that we need to hold up to all young people. And he also showed that redemption is real. I mean, he had a troubled time period in his past, in his youth. He turned that around, and he made positive contributions. And I think that this is something that we can all learn from. People can turn their life around. They can be positive.
And we are talking now about going forward and how we go forward from here. How do we do that? What do we need to do to take his message on to the next level?
Well, I think teaching people who did not know about Nipsey, did not know about his work, teaching them for decision makers, for lawmakers to understand that communities need resources, that punishment is never going to change communities. And I think lifting him up to young people who might be experiencing challenges in their life to show them that they can succeed and they can make positive contributions and they can be leaders.
Yeah, we have on the set with us Tammy Mack with KJLH, and she said that Nipsey Hussle was knee-deep in his community in terms of trying to turn things around. I want to know from you, what can lawmakers learn from someone like Nipsey Hussle?
Well, and let me tell you, that's one of the reasons why I spoke on the floor and did the congressional record, because I wanted my colleagues who didn't know about him to hear about him. He was more than a musician. He was a leader. He was a businessman. He was an entrepreneur. And what I want them to learn is that, again, redemption is real. Resources need to be put into communities, not incarcerating people who have challenges in their life.
And Congresswoman, what was the reaction to that? What did your fellow lawmakers have to say? Maybe those who really didn't know who Nipsey Hussle was.
Well, the reaction was very positive. People asked me about him. They said they never heard about him. They knew that, a young man was killed who was famous, and so they wanted me to tell them about him. But I also used it as an opportunity to speak about him informally with my colleagues and to talk about, what this individual had done and the fact that he was a businessman. And I think people don't often think about that when they think of a rapper. Yeah, you might be famous, you might make a lot of money, but they don't think about the fact that, people can be entrepreneurs and start businesses where he hired people from the community. And South LA is an area where unemployment is high.
Representative Bass, so you take this to lawmakers, you inform them. Now they know. What is the end game when it comes to communities, underserved communities like South Los Angeles?
Well, I will tell you, the end game is legislation and resources. So I'm working on legislation right now that would call for model programs to help people transition into civic life who have been incarcerated. So reentry programs, we were able to pass bipartisan legislation on prison reform. We called it first step because there needs to be a second, a third, and a fourth step. And so I'm using Nipsey's life to say, we need to continue putting resources in the community. Now, unfortunately, we went through so many years of mass incarceration, and now we are just beginning to understand how detrimental that was and how in many ways it actually caused the opposite. It was supposed to reduce violence. It caused violence because if people do not have a legal way to support themselves, then we shouldn't be surprised if their illegal behavior continues.
And Nipsey Hussle seemed to understand that because he did help people who were incarcerated, who were just getting out of jail and were back on the streets. They needed food, they needed clothing, and they needed a fresh start. He was doing that.
And you can be sure that I'm going to examine what he did closer and use some of his lessons in the legislation. So we need to have programs that support people when they come out. And, you know, we need to get past the era of just punishment because, again, people who are incarcerated tend to be concentrated in particular communities. And so if you concentrate them without an opportunity for them to interact in legal life, employment, then don't be surprised if the communities continue to have challenges.
Representative Bass, we have live shots here from the ground and in the air of what is happening at Staples Center here right now. From what we understand, half of Staples is full as of right now. This was supposed to start at 10 o'clock, obviously running a bit late. But you look at the throngs of people out here right now. Are you at all surprised by the large crowds and the number of folks who are spending their day down at Staples?
No, I'm not surprised at all. The only thing I wished is that I could be there with everybody in Los Angeles.
And what about the fact people are willing to stand outside? They don't have tickets to get in. Tickets were handed out on a first-come, first-served basis. But they're willing to come, and they're coming from Seattle. We heard from London. And it's okay to stand outside. What do you make of all of that? It's amazing.
Well, I just think it shows how far, wide, and deep his reach was. Not just his music, but his message.
All right, Representative Karen Bass, we appreciate your insight here this morning. Again, calling Nipsey Hussle the son of L.A. We want to bring back in Tammy Mack from KJLH. You've been listening to what the representative here has said today, and she says, you know, we need more resources. We need more programs here in these underserved communities.
Absolutely. She's telling the truth. I mean, she knows.